Hey guys, this is chapter 16 of the GollyWhopper games, and we're on page 192. Could Gil's heart pump any faster? Could he scream louder? He didn't know. Couldn't tell. He wanted out of the balloon. He needed to jump, dance, celebrate. Spotlights shone. A floor moved underneath their baskets. Railings locked into place. Gil's seatbelt automatically unbuckled. He leaped out of the basket, screamed, jumped up and down on the platform in the warehouse sky. Hands slapped his back, arms lifted him off his seat. He may have kissed Bianca, or was it Thorn? One minute he was running in circles with Lavinia, the next he was bumping chests with Rocky. Carol galloped up. Together the team surged toward her, tousled her red curls, enveloped her in a group hug that turned into a group bounce. Then Gil hugged Rocky for the 3rd or 13th time. He realized he was hugging Rocky. He moved away and paced in small circles to catch his breath, punching a few victory fists into the air. He rubbed his jaw to massage his smile muscles. He tried to relax his mouth, but it felt frozen in the permanent grin. Ah, Carol screamed as the trumpets died down. Time to taste victory. Let's eat. She led the green team from the floor in the sky, jumping along 3 halls and down 4 flights of stairs to a dining room with enough food to feed a small nation. Stand here for a moment and look. Trays of pizza, hot dogs, hamburgers, chicken fingers, and french fries lined one banquet table. Popcorn, potato chips, tortilla chips, cheese curls, pretzels, salsa, and other dips fanned out on another. The third had platters of salmon, chicken, pastas, salads, fruits, and vegetables. The fourth held cookies, donuts, pies, cakes, and a huge chocolate volcano. In the center of the room, an old-fashioned soda jerk stood behind the antique ice cream counter, dishing up anything you can dream up, he called. The hand-lettered menu above him echoed that. On one side of him flowed a dazzling fountain of sparkling red punch. On the other gleamed ice sculptures surrounded in vast selection of sodas, waters, and lemonades. "Can we eat?" asked Rocky. "First, welcome our guests." Carol opened the door for the red team. They didn't look giddy, but they weren't mad either. They must have received great runner-up gifts. Bill, their guide, followed, protecting his hair with his hands. Behind him flowed a rush of adults. Kurt, then Lavinia's mom, then Gil's parents. Gil hugged them both. When he finally let go, his dad kept grabbing his shoulders and his mom kept hold of his hands. He opened his mouth to speak, but felt like anything he said would come out with a gush of tears. "So what'd you think?" he managed to squeak out. Gil's mom took a long, shaky breath. "You were amazing. A true leader." "Oh, Mom." "No, really," she said. "I couldn't have been that patient with some of the personalities you had to work with." Gil shrugged, agreed inside. "I don't know how you figured out some of those puzzles," said his dad. "And when you made that mistake, I nearly lost my mind. The other team had cruised through that puzzle. We thought it was all over and could barely stand to watch." "How much did we win by?" "You don't want to know," said his dad. "I'll tell you all about it later, but right now, someone's waiting for you." He led Gil over to Old Man GollyWhop. "Pleased to see you again, sir." Gil shook his hand. "Young Goodson, you kept your promise," he said. "Now on with you." The old man shooed Gil away with his free hand as he kept wagging Gil's handshake with the other. "Oh, go and get yourself some food and put some skin on those bones. Do it before the other vultures eat it all." Still holding on, he looked deep into Gil's eyes and allowed a tiny smile to creep across his face. "Attaboy," he whispered. He let go and wheeled off. Gil headed for the food table, his stomach knotting like an over-twisted rubber band. I like that. And it's a simile, too. Like an over-twisted rubber band. Maybe it was the jitters, or maybe he was really hungry. He tested his appetite with a pretzel. Then he loaded only 2 plates to save room for some outrageous ice cream mountain. Only 2 plates. He and his parents settled at a dining table away from the food and away from most of the TV cameras. He kept grinning at his mom and dad, who grinned right back. Then they all burst out laughing. No need to speak. He was here, part of the winning team. Here, fair and square, cameras watching. Gil had beat 24,995 others. 4 to go. He already had bragging rights. No one else in Orchard Heights had gotten this far. No one in the state. Yet underneath his excitement, he felt sort of calm and confident. Things would be different. He would be different. He could walk out of here with his head held high. No more hiding for him. No more hiding. Maybe he really had withered into invisibility like Frankie had said. Maybe he had avoided everyone. He sighed. "What's the matter, Gil?" said his mom. "Nothing. Everything." His dad nodded. Lots to wrap your mind around. His dad always understood, or maybe his dad had his own set of doubts. Like, what if he had agreed with the old man's words that day in the courtroom? What if he had pushed to get his old job back? Or what if they had moved to Phoenix right after the trial? Gil dug into his half-eaten sundae, but left his spoon in the middle of the ice cream and sauces. He didn't need an overfull stomach and waves of what-ifs to weigh him down for the next round. He excused himself and ducked into the bathroom, turned on the faucet, and plunged his hands under the rush of water. When it reached the perfect heat, he concentrated on the sensation of water bubbles massaging his palms, allowing that calm to radiate up his arms, around his neck, and into his temples. He closed his eyes and tilted his head back and rotated it, listened to the tension crinkle around his neck, then disappear. He took in a calming breath, then another, then, "Gil Goodson." Gil snapped to attention. "Yes, Mr. GollyWhop?" Bert GollyWhop strode over to him and turned off the faucets. "Have you ever heard of corporate responsibility?" Gil was only running some water. He hadn't taken the extra candy bars and peanuts from the concession stands like he could have yesterday. "Well, Gil," he said, like a cranky teacher. "Do you know what that means?" Gil dried his hands with a paper towel. "A little, sir. It not only means we need to make enough money to take care of our 50,000 Golly employees worldwide, we are also responsible to the millions of everyday people who have invested their money in toys and games." Bert GollyWhop's tone softened. "Now, son, you know this is a happy place. It didn't end so happily for your father, but given what we knew, we had to protect our interests. You may not like that, but you can understand that, can't you? Trying to protect something?" Gil nodded, wondering if this was leading to the same conversation as yesterday. "So right now," Bert GollyWhop continued, "I have something very important to protect. I have to protect the GollyWhopper games. When I decided to sink millions and millions of dollars into this little production, we knew we'd get double the amount's worth in exciting publicity. We planned it all out, except we didn't plan on you, an ex-employee's kid." Gil wanted to escape, but the way Bert GollyWhop was peeking into each bathroom stall, Gil knew he was about to say something important. "Now, you know how reporters operate. They'll dredge up all that history. You don't want that. We don't want that. And neither do our fans, who expect to turn on their TVs to see a competition, but instead find the Ancient History Network. So I have a deal for you, a good one. We could say that you were in here vomiting, or that you splashed water on the floor, then slipped and sprained your ankle. You couldn't continue, so you gave your spot to the first alternate. You can do this. And not only will you walk away with the consolation prize, but I will personally give you a whole wheelbarrow full of money." Mr. GollyWhop pulled out a paper towel and dried the sink. "Remember, Gil, this competition is winner take all. Even if you come in second, you wouldn't see an additional cent. This is guaranteed money I'm offering, son. Enough to send you to college for 4 years. Enough to buy you all the electronic gadgets you could want. What do you say?" Gil squeezed the paper towel he still had in his hands. "That would be enough money to leave town. Start over. He threw the paper towel into the garbage. "Are you making the same offer to Rocky?" "Why would I?" "Ex-employees, kid." Bert GollyWhop's face turned as red as a cartoon character just before steam whistles out of his ears. "Maybe you don't understand the difference," he said in a whole different tone of voice. "Otherwise, you wouldn't have dragged your father in here, totally mortifying him, forcing him to face his past offenses. Shame on you." "Shame on him? Shame on him?" Gil sucked in some air. "You don't know a thing." Bert GollyWhop held up his hand. "Oh, I know plenty. Just don't fall into the same trap as your father did. Don't get greedy today. Take the money." So you can come and arrest me?" He dared to laugh. I'm not having you arrested. I'm ensuring your future. I am the good guy here. Didn't you hear me before? He said. Then he enunciated every word. I don't want you in these games. He took a step closer to Gil. You can do this voluntarily, or I can find a way to disqualify you. I am a smart man. A rushing sound ran through Gil's ears, as if his body were filling with water, threatening to drown his lungs. He grabbed onto the counter and plunged to his knees. Yeah. Perfect. I found you here on the floor. You fainted. You needed medical attention. Gil found his legs, rose up. I'm fine, he said, and I'm not a quitter. He brushed past Bert Gollywop, backed toward the door. If you didn't want me in the games, then you shouldn't have written the rules so I could play. He spun around, pushed through the door, and out into the crowd. He found his dad walking toward the bathroom. You were in there so long I was about to send a rescue. He looked Gil in the eye. Gil, you're pale. What's wrong? Did I drag you here, Dad? Am I an embarrassment? Are you mortified to be here? You are never an embarrassment. And I'm fine. I don't want to talk about it anymore. His father looked toward the bathroom door. Bert Gollywop marched out, smiling. What did he say to you? Gil shook his head. Tell me. He wants me to drop out. Said he'd pay me. Gil closed his eyes. I swear. His dad took 2 steps toward Bert Gollywop. Gil grabbed onto his arm. Don't, Dad. He took another step, looked at Gil, then at the TV camera. He touched Gil's elbow, led him away from the cameras, back into the bathroom. I need you to tell me everything he said. Gil tried to remember it all, pausing to let his dad scribble notes on a paper towel. What are you going to do with those? Gil asked. I don't know, said his dad. Maybe nothing, but definitely nothing to ruin the games for you, I promise. Then he smiled. You really told him that? How he should have written the rules differently if he didn't want you to play? Gil nodded. His dad laughed, grabbed him up, and hugged him harder. Bert wanted to rattle you so you'd lose. You need to know that. He's not running the show today. There's a board of administrators from the independent judging agency, plus officials from the federal government overseeing the games. Bert can threaten you all he wants, but he can't disqualify you. So like I said this morning, throw away the garbage and go have fun.